Hello, my name is Milan from the Cause production crew, and I'm here with Traci Murphy, the executive director for the Delaware Coalition Against Gun Violence. So I'll just be asking you a couple questions.
And I've got some answers. I'm excited to talk with you today, Milan.
What inspired you to advocate against gun violence?
Well, the most important job I have is I'm a mom. And when the tragedy happened at Sandy Hook Elementary School a little over 10 years ago, my daughter was a first grader. And many of the children who were murdered in that shooting were first graders. And it broke my heart to think that those mothers would never get their children back. And I began showing up for this cause then, and I've never stopped.
Wow. How long have you been advocating against gun violence?
So, if I had a calendar in front of me, I could tell you exactly, but it's been a little over 10 years since the Sandy Hook tragedy. And as a mom, that really broke my heart because what I learned quickly once I started doing this work was that mass shootings and school shootings are incredibly rare. And that's why they make the news, right? The news doesn't tell us what happens every day. The news tells us what's new, what's news, what's different, what's rare. And that's a very rare occurrence. What doesn't make the news is the community violence that impacts at-risk communities in our country every day. I don't have to tell you this. Primarily communities that are black and brown, primarily communities that have other risk factors associated. And so I got involved because I cared so deeply about my own kids. And I very quickly realized that I wanted to help everyone who wanted to advocate have a voice.
Wow. What could we, the community, do together to help fix this gun violence problem?
Gosh, I think that's the $1 million, the $1 billion question, right? Because there's a lot of information that tells us that we are never going to solve this problem. Right? There are 400 million guns in circulation in our country. Oh, wow. There are only 350 million Americans. There's more guns than people. Can we ever truly be safe from gun violence? But yet, I have hope. But hope is not a strategy, right? You have to know what to do with that hope. And so what people can do is first do what you're doing right now, which is ask the right questions, peel back the layers, and find out more about what drives violence. Because once we can name and identify the problem, we can come up with solutions for it. And there are many. There are policy solutions. There are community intervention solutions. There's prevention education, which is what we're doing right now. But I think the most important thing for everyone to do is learn a little bit more and recognize the difference between facts about gun violence and opinions about gun violence. People are entitled to their own opinions, but they are not entitled to their own facts.
How can we apply this information to our everyday life?
Well, I think it depends on how you live your everyday life, right? Everybody's lives are different, and so we have to apply our knowledge and our expertise in different ways. For example, people who choose to own firearms must commit to the responsibilities that go along with their right to own firearms, and that means secure storage always, no exceptions. Whenever your firearm is not on your person, it should be locked, unloaded, and separate from ammunition. That's a really important step that responsible firearm owners know keeps people safe from unintentional shootings and impulsive actions that so often can lead to tragic outcomes.
Where do you see this organization upcoming in the next couple years?
So we've had an incredibly busy month. June is Gun Violence Awareness Month, and so our community partners, we have wonderful advocacy groups we work with. We have been doing a lot of events. And earlier this month, Bethany Hall Long, our Lieutenant Governor, signed a proclamation declaring the first full week of June Gun Violence Awareness Week in Delaware, and using that as an opportunity to remind people about secure storage and their responsibility to make sure that firearms are always secured appropriately. And at that event, it was a really wonderful event, and it was really well attended. And I looked around and I thought to myself, wow, this organization is really growing. There are people who came out to this event that the organization I run hosted, and I didn't know who they were. I hadn't recognized that they were coming. And so to me, that shows that we have a lot of momentum, right? This organization today, the cause invited me to come. I don't know you. We just met. This is, to me, that says momentum, right? That we are expanding our reach. And I think what we will find is that we will keep going and we will reach a critical tipping point in our community where more people know about us and the work we're doing than don't. And that is where I think we're headed. And programs like this one and organizations like yours are helping us get there even faster. So I really thank you for inviting me and for being so welcoming about this topic.
Yeah. What type of impact do you hope you have made with your organization?
Well, we hope we have the most important impact of all, which is that we're saving lives and preventing gun violence. But prevention is really hard to measure, right? Like if you wear your helmet and you bike safely and you get somewhere safely, no one's measuring that. No one's saying, because of bicycle helmets, 400,000 kids didn't get hurt today, right? Nobody's measuring prevention. So it takes a little while to know how well we're doing because we have to really look at trends over time and see what's happening in community violence, in suicide by firearm, and in other contributing factors to this crisis. So we have a long way to go, but I think I feel really good about where we are right now.
Okay. How do you feel about the California governor's choices for raising the federal minimum age to purchase a firearm, and the background checks, the longer waiting periods, and barring the purchase of assault weapons?
So I love that question, and I love how plugged in your group is to what's happening right now in political conversations. I think, so one of the things we deal with in our nation is that we are a nation of states, which means that here in Delaware, even though we have already raised the minimum age to purchase to 21, we are only as safe as our nearest neighbors with our weakest gun laws, right? So we are doing incredible work, truly a leader in gun violence prevention policy, and we need to do more. I'm not saying we need to do more. We don't need to do more. But until we make changes at the federal level, we are only as safe as our nearest state with the weakest laws. And so I really love the idea of adding federal legislation that prohibits young people with adolescent brains, which are so malleable, right? And so the risk and reward centers of the adolescent brain are such that those brains are rewarded. It feels better to take risks when you're young, right? Are we doing the best thing for our kids by letting them access firearms legally? I don't know that we are. So I like that idea. And of course, I really support banning the sale of assault-style weapons. We've already done that here in Delaware. And part of why we've done that, and good news that comes out of that, is that we recognize that no single person should have that individual capacity to kill. The good news is that law was signed last year on June 30th by the governor. The time to crime, which is a great research point for you and listeners and watchers of your show, time to crime is a data point that says that when a firearm is purchased for nefarious purposes, there's a short window in which that gun will be used for that intent. And so we are coming up on a year in Delaware since we've sold an assault weapon, and the time to crime for assault weapons is about a year, which means that we are getting safer and safer every single day since the last assault-style weapon was sold in our state almost a year ago.
Oh, wow.
We are getting safer and safer every day from assault-style weapon mass shootings. That's
really
critical success point, right? We're getting safer every day. But I bet you don't always feel safe from gun violence, do you?
I must say, not. Some places I've been, it does not feel very secure. There's, from personal experience with gun violence, it's not.
So you're getting safer every day.
Yes.
That's the good news. You're getting safer every day. And the really good news is your willingness to dig deeper into this topic and to learn about secure storage and to learn about lethal violence protection orders, which is a civil process that can remove a firearm from a dangerous person temporarily. Those laws are saving lives in Delaware right now. So you're safer than you ever were before from gun violence in Delaware, but we're going to still keep working at it.
Okay. I hope to see more of progress everywhere, not just in Delaware, and not even maybe even outside of America. I think that this.
So let's dig deeper into
far.
that. What do you think gun violence looks like in other countries?
Well, I feel that, with, I think gun violence in some places might look a lot similar to how it does in America, with the, the wars going on, what happened in the Ukraine,
Yeah.
and things like that.
That's really significant, and I think that that people who are activists for peace, and I count myself among them, don't want to see war of any kind. We don't want to see strife and violence of any kind in any community. But if you look at the kind of gun violence we experience here in America and compare it to other highly industrialized countries, you'll find that we have uniquely high rates of gun violence, disproportionately high rates of gun violence, and that's because we have fairly easy, unfettered access to firearms in our country, and most other highly industrialized nations don't allow for that. And so it's a uniquely American problem on the world stage, and it's one that we're going to have to solve from the inside out. No one's coming to help us from this. We got to do it ourselves.
Right. Okay, well, I'm so glad that you were able to make it today, and I had
Me
a lot
too.
of fun talking to you.
I'm so excited. I think that young people in this country are going to change outcomes faster than any generation before. And I'm so excited to get out of the way of you and your classmates and friends so that you can keep changing the world. You're doing great work.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
are too. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure.